My life was perfectly ordinary. I was born into a wealthy family that owned a very big and influential company. I had 2 childhood friends, 2 loving parents, 2 wonderful siblings, 2 adorable pets, all the servants you can have, the biggest house on the block, and all the money you could ask for. I was happy and my life was perfect, so where did it all go wrong? Was it my pet's death, one of my childhood friends' betrayal, my family's neglect, my banishment? My name is Kira Yoshifumi. I was born in Sumida City in Tokyo, Japan on August 7, 2007, and am currently 15 years old. I'm a second year at Kyoshi High School and work as an employee at W.C. Donald's and get home by at least 8 p.m. I don't smoke and I'm not a big fan of pop, but I drink it occasionally. After doing homework, I'm in bed by 11 p.m. and make sure that I get 8 hours of sleep no matter what. After having a glass of warm milk and doing about 20 minutes of stretches before going to bed, I usually have no problem sleeping until morning, just like a baby. I wake up without any fatigue or stress in the morning. I am careful not to stand out and am willing to block myself from the outside world so as to not cause trouble and create enemies but in turn lack friends. In my life, I have experienced lots of pain, but said memories have only reminded me of my goal, which is to live a quiet life of solitude. But I wasn't always like this. It all happened in what seemed like an instant. 2 years ago, my house caught fire and the firemen were unable to rescue my pet cat Lucy. 6 months later, during a vacation at one of my family's beach houses, a storm came unexpectedly. My family and I couldn't find our pet dog Harold, and in the morning we found his body washed up back at shore. That same year, my childhood friend Rosalind, or Rosie as we call her, father's company went bankrupt and had to move and give up everything to afford basic needs, which caused me to never be able to see her again. When I first came to high school along with my other childhood friend Lillian, or Lily, I left a letter in her locker to meet behind the school to confess to her, but when I did she rejected me. She could have said no, but the way she said awful things about me and dejected me, claiming that I'd have no chance with her or any girl, with a sinister smile on her face, left a bitter taste in my mouth. I'm glad that she was honest, but I wondered if she had to be so cold and harsh with it, as I thought the least she could say was no. At the time I didn't have any friends, as it was still the start of the year and everything and everyone was still new to me, but I was surprised to see that the week after the confession everyone was looking at me and talking about something as I passed by, and if I tried to make any eye contact they'd look away in disgust. I was confused and honestly a little heartbroken, so I just looked down and continued to walk to my class. However, when I got there I was shocked to see my desk horribly vandalized and was surprised when I heard the teacher's reaction after I told her. She said to stop pretending to be bullied, to get special treatment or attention, and to hurry and clean it up, as if she was doing me a favor by not telling the principal. At lunch I just decided to eat in the bathroom when I was interrupted by some delinquent-looking kids, and surely enough they brought me behind the school and started bullying me for real. I had to go to the nurse, who was slightly concerned but warned me not to get myself into too much trouble since I was new and did not want to get expelled. My parents weren't home much, but I know that they couldn't really care less and they were more occupied with their work, or my younger siblings, who I still loved very much, but even they were prioritizing playing together or were being taken care of by the servants. A few days passed and my new lunch spot was discovered by the bullies that I tried my hardest to avoid, but this time though I was prepared. When they took my lunch I demanded it back, and when they spilled it, I immediately retaliated by sending my food flying to their gut. The bully stumbled backwards a bit and fell onto one knee. I thought they were going to fight back, but surprisingly they retreated. I felt relieved and a bit skeptical, but glad that I didn't get hurt, although still hungry. I went to the vending machines nearby to get snacks, and right as I was about to eat I was called to the principal's office. How odd, I thought to myself, but I decided to go anyway as I saw no harm in it. But what my eyes laid upon I was not prepared for. It was all 3 of the bullies in bandages. The one I hit was in crutches. When I got in the principal's office he gave me a chance to explain myself, where I then explained the past experiences of bullying, but the principal got out of his chair while explaining that in his school there are rules that must be followed like as of anywhere, and looking out the window he explained that the rule, "one must not lie," is a great example of this, and emphasized that the rule to not injure or bully another student was also in effect. He asked the question if I knew what everyone else in school had to say about him, implying that my reputation at school, despite doing nothing and being innocent, was not good enough, to the point where even the principal could no longer trust what I had to say. I was given a light punishment of a 3-day suspension, detention the same day, and helping out with maintenance for a week. My parents were obviously not thrilled at the news, and instead of asking questions they bombarded me with insults and threw a bunch of swears at me. And I just had to sit there and soak it all in. But what I learned from my parents in their outburst was that the boy I punched was a relative of Lily and was the principal's son. I now knew how he could get around a situation like that and how together my reputation at school would be so quickly demolished even if I had done absolutely nothing wrong. When the week was over and the new one began, I was trembling when my name was once again called to the principal's office. It was there that I saw Lily sobbing and her friends comforting her while giving me a stern look as I walked past. This time when I was expelled. When I asked what the principal said, it was unforgivable and that I should leave immediately, and so I did. To be honest, it was a bit heartbreaking as I had worked hard to be in the same school as Lily. When I got home, my parents were furious, asking how I could assault my own childhood friend and the daughter of their most valuable business partner. When I went back to school to gather the rest of my belongings, it was then that I knew that I was alone. The whispers were louder as if the other students wanted me to hear them say things like, gross, or creep, or vile. So when I returned home, I shut myself in my room and continued to think of how I couldn't even finish my second year. I gained weight and my health was deteriorating, and I was not living my best life. I was living out a life of solitude. After a while, my family got tired of me and couldn't let the world know they had a son like me, and so had to drag me out of my room and throw me out of the house with nothing. With the whole world treating me like trash and nowhere else to go, I decided to defy fate and try to restart my life from zero. As I walked confidently across the street, I failed to see the big truck speeding towards me and I was hit. After a few hours though, I woke up in the hospital and the doctors told me that for surviving, I had it lucky, and that if not for my fat and their speed I would have died. As much as I wanted to tell them off, I knew he was right, but I realized that this was my kickstart to a new life and a hint at a second chance. I got back into shape, cut and dyed my hair from dirty blonde to black, changed my surname to the one my mother had before she was married, moved out of town to a different one, got a job at McDonald's and bought a small room in a rundown apartment that was conveniently close to work. I was somehow able to get enough money to go to a different school and decided that although it caused me trouble in the past, I'd live a quiet life of solitude. I then saw on the news that I was labeled as missing and was wondering as to what my family was planning, as they'd never go through the trouble of finding me.
Little does he know Rosie is at the same school and looking for him.
My name is Rosalind Fujiro, but most people call me Rosie. I have long hazel hair and hazel eyes, and one younger sister, and two hard-working parents. I was born in Sumida City in Tokyo, Japan on May 4, 2007, and am currently 15 years old. My family was rich, but due to a bizarre sequence of events we went bankrupt. I then had to say goodbye to my childhood friend Kira, and knew that I might never see him again. My family struggled hard, and had to move to a different town to restart life. We worked hard and eventually paid off our debts when my dad and mom got a good paying job. I was doing odd jobs and went from place to place to look for work to help out too, but knew that I couldn't leave my little sister behind at home alone for too long, as she would feel neglected, and I did not want to place work higher than my sister in my list of priorities. One day as I was getting ready for school, I randomly thought to myself of how Kira must be doing lately, but then I dismissed the thought because his family had a lot of money. He still has Lily and probably a lot of other friends, and that he probably had forgotten about me. So when I heard the news that he has been missing, I was stunned. I was also frightened by the possibilities of what could have happened to him, and constantly wondering about his well-being. A few days later, at the end of the week, they found him. Although he looks a little different in the pictures, but as long as he is okay, I was glad. I went to school like normal the next week, and thought that I should maybe pay him a visit on the weekend. Just then I noticed an oddly familiar presence pass by me. It was crowded in the hallway, so I couldn't see them, but I decided it was best to think nothing of it, and continued on my way. Later that week, some friends of mine were talking about a cute guy with glasses, with black short hair and black eyes, to which they asked me if I had seen him. I responded with a no, of course, and they came to the conclusion that the guy probably eats lunch alone because he is shy, and always seems like he is always in a hurry to get to class. Even his classmates don't seem to notice him all that much and only see him a few times a day. He is pretty fast getting through the crowd and seems so good at hiding his presence and keeping to himself. Since he doesn't have any friends, no one can talk to him, so they don't know where he is or could be, and so no one knows what the guy is truly like. This guy seemed interesting to me, and I also thought that he could be the familiar presence that I felt a few days earlier. So I decided to look for him after I saw Kira. That weekend I boarded a train to Sumida City, and rang the doorbell on the gate of the Yoshida family household estate, which was a big mansion. A voice rudely responded asking who I was, and what my purpose was. I was annoyed but responded respectfully with my name, and my wish to speak to Kira Yoshida. The voice laughed maniacally and said that he was Kira Yoshida, and that he didn't know me, and that I should leave unless I wanted to be arrested and hung up. There was no way, I thought to myself. The Kira Yoshida I knew had a much sweeter tone, and would know who I was by my name. It is then that I vowed to find out the truth, to see if that was the real Kira Yoshida that I knew, and if not, then find out where the real one was hiding. But even I had to admit that the Kira Yoshida I saw did look like the one I remember, as if he did not change at all. I also just remembered the familiar presence I felt, and that I'd need to find the shy guy at my school, and invite him to lunch to get to know him, and clear my suspicions and cross him off my list of prime suspects.
The fateful day came when Rosie and Kira were to make their fated reunion. During the lunch break, Rosie, instead of having lunch with her friends, like she usually does, she saw someone that looked kind of like the person she bumped into, which was Kira, and so looked for him everywhere. Kira hid in his usual hiding spot, which was the bathroom of course, but decided to do something a little different, and go to the cafeteria to buy his favorite cream puff. Luckily there was no one in line, and all he needed to do was muster up the courage to ask for the last one. As he was about to order, he along with Rosie said their order at the same time. Rosie apologized for the ignorance of his presence, and insisted Kira be the one to take the last cream puff. But Kira refused to be the one to take it, and so neither of them could decide on who would be the one to take it, and so the cashier apologized for interrupting their lovers' quarrel, to which they responded that it was not, but the cashier brushed it aside and gave both half of it, and told them that it would be on the house for them that time, as they will have a restock later, and insisted everything would be fine. It was also then that Rosie realized that the person she was arguing with was the very person she had been looking for. So she asked if his name was Kira Yoshifumi, to which he responded accordingly that he is in fact Kira Yoshifumi. She tells him to follow her, and she grabs his hand, much to his confusion. As they walk to the bench near some flowers, Rosie thinks to herself that she first needs to get to know him before confirming her suspicions. She then realizes that she was holding on to his hand, and gets flustered, then lets go. Kira asks why he's there, and Rosie replies that she and him are eating lunch together. However, Kira can already tell of her curiosity, and all the questions she will bombard him with. They sit down munching on their cream puffs, when Rosie's first question surfaces, to which she asks him where he usually eats, and if he always eats alone. He responds affirmatively, and explains that he always makes his own bentos. Rosie is stunned but not too surprised, since Kira's body is pretty fit, so a diet is not too surprising, but guesses that the cream puff is a cheat for him. While Kira is chewing, Rosie starts to pour out a lot of personal questions about him all at once, causing him to feel overwhelmed and start to choke. He manages to drink water from a nearby fountain to wash down the food, and the two share a hearty laugh as Rosie clarifies that she wants to be friends with him and get to know him better, to which he responds with a question as to why, and so Rosie counters with a why not, and that he sounded lonely. Kira was pleased with such an answer, and so accepted her to be his first friend, and thought to himself that she was the one noisy thing to have in his quiet life, and that he hasn't had such a good laugh in a while. A girl walks past them, and instantly recognizes them, and quickly goes somewhere else.
My name is Liliana Chica, but my friends call me Lily. I was born in Sumida City in Tokyo, Japan on November 11, 2007, and am currently 15 years old. I have pink hair and two big curly pigtails. I'm an only child and have rich parents, meaning I am spoiled rotten, but that is usually what poor people say about the rich like me, and frankly I don't care. The only thing I care about in life is what will benefit me and amuse me. I had two childhood friends who provided good entertainment. Although when one's family went bankrupt, it was like the world collapsed. As my friend and I grew older, he began having feelings for me, but he wasn't really my type and I needed to be sure I made that clear. I also resented him because he did not provide as much entertainment anymore, so I did what was best and got rid of him. When he confessed to me, I had to be honest and listed every reason why we couldn't date each other. I was hoping that it would get him off my back and help him self-improve. I also may have spread false rumors to the people at school so he could make friends outside of school, as the ones in school were way out of his league. Then one day I saw him getting harassed by a relative of mine and was disgusted at how unable he was at taking care of himself. I was so fed up and cooked up a plan to further speed up the rehabilitation process. I had my cousin, the boy he punched, in bandages and crutches to make it more convincing that he was hurt, and the principal gave him detention, suspension, and had him work on maintenance for a while. It was a light punishment, but not that he would last long with heavy duty. My friends and I monitored him for a week and were tired of him because of how boring he was, so we opted to get rid of him by expulsion. My friends spread the rumor that he assaulted me, and we acted our best as I faked crying and my friends faked consoling me, and so our plan was flawless and we enjoyed every bit of it, but the one thing I didn't like was his emotionless expression. I regret not slapping him to see at least some hint of a micro-expression. It was then, a little while after he left school, that I heard that he gained weight, his health was deteriorating, and that his family disowned him, and that he presumably died of a car accident. I felt nothing. What I was more concerned with was finding a replacement for my entertainment position, as everything seemed like it was getting dull. Then an idea popped into my head. I thought to myself, I just need to find a different perfect boy as the Yoshida family head, as well as the person to marry to better connect the two families. Essentially, I need a different Kira Yoshida, and I'll build one from scratch myself. After that thought, I consulted with the Yoshida family and they were on board, so we both took about a month finding the perfect boy in terms of looks. Afterwards, the Yoshida family took in the boy to train him in etiquette and knowledge, while my family and I taught him everything he needed to know to satisfy my needs. After about a year, the boy was a man and was ready to don the name of Kira Yoshida. At around that same time, I received information on Rosie's whereabouts and decided to transfer for a bit to see how she is. If she's interesting, then I'll take her in under my wing as an underling. If not, I'll simply leave her and possibly destroy her and her family's reputation, even if they just escaped poverty. After school, I planned to look for her and befriend her under a false identity as to not hinder the mission. But I was shocked to find her already talking to the real Kira, and thus a new side quest was accepted, to remove the old Kira to make room for the new one.
The first sign of snow presents itself, but things start to heat up, and the climax is near. Please be my boyfriend. Kira, stunned, almost lost composure when he thinks to himself of the possibility of Rosie reacting negatively, but gives up on the idea as he thinks that she must already have a boyfriend, and that she is way out of his league, but the same would go for any girl, so he is skeptical as to why he is getting asked out. Curious, he agrees to accept only after she gives one good reason as to why. This puts Lily on the spot, as she has to think of something fast in order for her plan to succeed. But she ends up taking too long as Kira sees this, and says that he knew it, and that there was nothing special about him, and to stop messing with him, as he begins to walk away. But Lily insists that she was just nervous, and wasn't joking, and that her answer was that he was handsome, which somehow irritates him a little. Confused, Lily notices his small reaction to the compliment, but follows up with the fact that it's unnatural for a man as good-looking as him to be alone forever. Kira, still slightly confused, thinks that since he still has Rosie, but since they were not dating, he sees her point, and so he agrees. Around the same time, Rosie was walking down the street when suddenly she was pulled in a dark alleyway. She tried to scream and squirm, but the person put their finger to their mouth while covering hers and shushed Rosie to be quiet, and Rosie obeyed. They took their hand off Rosie's mouth, and she told them that she would need their identity or else she would scream at the top of her lungs. To which they then laughed maniacally and said that she was right and that he was Kira Yoshida. Rosie was puzzled, then had the sudden realization that it was the same introduction that he gave when she came to visit, but decided to play dumb. He continued on saying how Rosie went to his house, but no one was there at the time. Rosie looked at him with skeptical eyes, to which he cleared his throat, and clarified that he was asking her to be his girlfriend and promising to help her financially, and restore her family to their former glory. His real plan was to use her to strengthen the Ichika and Yoshida family, as well as have her and Lily to himself, as he wanted to be with beautiful girls like them. But he of course didn't let Lily know that. Rosie hesitated as she thought to herself how she couldn't believe that he was the real Kira, since it was clear as the time spent with him, and the first impression the current Kira standing in front of her further proved which Kira was real and fake. But she also pondered the fact that as she was with him, she could know the state of the family and their secrets, but for now, she puts it on hold, as she feels that she'd need to inform the real Kira Yoshifumi first. She tells Kira Yoshida that she will meet him in front of his house when she has her answer, to which he accepts. The next day, Rosie and Yoshifumi are seen enjoying their lunch at their usual lunch spot, the school roof. Rosie remarks of the cool breeze and the big blue sky, to which Yoshifumi laments about how yummy his lunch is. As he's about to take a bite, he pauses. This lets Rosie know that Yoshifumi is about to tell her something serious. Yoshifumi states his need to tell Rosie something that is of great importance. He tells her that he actually invited someone, and hopes she doesn't mind. But before he could finish, she arrived, bursting through the roof door. Lily enthusiastically announces her arrival. Yoshifumi smiles awkwardly, while Rosie keeps her composure on the outside. She is actually distraught, and feels very anxious as to why she is there, and who she even is. She also questions why she reminds her of Lily for some reason. Despite Rosie hiding it, Yoshifumi sees through Rosie's demeanor and introduces Lily as his girlfriend Daisy, which further shocks her to her core. She is still processing and trying to wrap her head around the fact that she was late, and he is no longer single, and other negative thoughts. She then thought to herself that there is now nothing holding herself back from accepting Yoshida's proposal. Lily notices a grain of rice on Yoshifumi's cheek and points it out, to which she then closes the distance between her face and his, and takes the grain of rice and eats it. After this, she gives Rosie a nasty side eye. This makes both Rosie and Yoshifumi flustered. Rosie quickly finishes her bento and tells Yoshifumi that she will see him later, and rushes to leave. Yoshifumi asks her to stop and come back, to which she stops and says that she has a boyfriend and that they should go on a double date on Christmas, then disappears. Lily and Yoshifumi are left frozen in their position for a bit before Lily goes back to calmly eating her bento and remarks how weird Yoshifumi's friend is, to which she is scolded by Yoshifumi that she was the reason that she left in the first place, and to tone down her unpredictability. Lily reluctantly complies. Meanwhile, she is thinking that it might be easier to ruin his relationship with Rosie given whoever her boyfriend is, and how well the date goes. Meanwhile, Yoshifumi is thinking to himself how he was right about Rosie already having a boyfriend, but thinks that her reaction was weird. Time passes and December 25th arrives. Yoshifumi and Lily arrive at their meetup place, which was set to be a cafe. As soon as they walked in, they saw Rosie and her boyfriend Kira Yoshida. Lily and Yoshida were shocked. Then Lily pulled Yoshida aside and said that they'd have a talk, while Yoshifumi and Rosie ordered while they were gone, and said that they'd be back soon after they had finished their discussion, and then they were gone. Yoshifumi and Rosie were confused about how they knew each other. They thought nothing of it, and ordered 4 cups of hot cocoa outside Lily's side, and asked Yoshida what he was doing there, as Rosie and the real Kira could figure out that he's a fake, and could jeopardize the entire plan. Yoshida asks Lily the same thing, and demands to know why she is dating the real Kira, and not him, clearly selfish and jealous. Lily justified herself by saying that by breaking the real Kira again, by ruining his relationship with Rosie and dumping him will aid the plan the family worked so hard to put together, and could not have Yoshida ruining it. Yoshida counters and says that he too would then help, as he would pull Rosie farther away from the real Kira. Lily was about to remark how Yoshida is just acting like a billionaire playboy until she thinks of how he could be on to something. She thinks that if their plan works, then having the Fujiro family owe them, and then paying back their debt by marrying their daughter to Kira would strengthen the family and expand their influence, money, and resources. She tells Yoshida that she supports him in this plan, but if it fails, then Yoshida will suffer consequences greater than what the two families would experience. Rosie steps out to tell them that their drinks are getting cold and that they should come back inside, to which they agree and follow her in, but not before Yoshida and Lily remind each other not to interfere with each other's plans. The rest of the day was pretty enjoyable for them, to which it seemed that Lily and Yoshida forgot their missions and all the fun they were having. They built a snowman, had snowball fights, helped kids build a snow fortress and fought with them. They went sledding, saw the city lights, and then finally the fireworks. They also went shopping and bought gifts for each other to end the day off. But before going home, they went to a movie theater and watched a Christmas movie. They laughed, cried, and most importantly, had a great time. On the final day of winter break, Yoshida invites Rosie to his house to hang out for the first time ever. And it's exactly the moment Rosie has been waiting for. She now has an opportunity to gather intel on the Yoshida and Ichika families. She gladly and willingly accepts Yoshida's invitation. Upon arrival, she marvels at how big the mansion is and reminisces on how long ago she last came, as memories of her as a child with Yoshifumi and Lily begin to resurface. A butler, the one who let her in, leads her to a waiting room and asks if she'd like any drinks, to which Rosie declines. And so the butler tells her to wait there for the time being until Yoshida comes, to which she verbally complies. Because of Rosie's previous knowledge from the last time she was there, she had a rough idea of the possible rooms of which her answer she was looking for resides in. Just then, Yoshida came in to greet Rosie and welcome her in. He asked if Rosie would like to stay the night, as they would love to have her, to which she hesitantly agreed as long as they're okay with having her. She thought to herself of how convenient it would be, as she had planned to strike at night. They did normal things like talk, play games, watched movies, and ate until finally night fell. The same butler again showed Rosie the guest room prepared for her, and that if she ever needed him, to just call him. Rosie thanked the butler, and he left her to her own devices. As the mansion was fast asleep, Rosie, however, was wide awake. She changed into black clothes, put her hood up and face mask on, and took off to search the mansion. It was a dangerous mission, as there were a multitude of guards, and some almost caught her, but she finally made it to the last room. She picked the lock and headed inside, where she saw a safe and a desk. She cracked the safe open and searched through the document, and instantly knew it was the right one, the evidence she'd been looking for. Just then the sound of an alarm could be heard in the background. Yoshida was panicking as he explained that Rosie wasn't in her room when he went to check on her. Then, they spotted Rosie with the documents after she left the room. Not knowing that it was Rosie under the black face mask, they chased her as she dashed for the nearest exit. But all routes were blocked by guards. She and the other guards thought that she was cornered. They were all creeping up on her when suddenly Yoshida stopped them, as he needed to take a look at the perpetrator. Upon seeing and realizing that she was a woman, he then said that he would forgive her if he handed over his property and her body. Rosie under the mask asks about what his girlfriend would think, to which he replies that she doesn't really matter, and that she will never know. He also states that she does not know that what she is holding holds great value in terms of knowledge, and that it won't be useful to her anyway. Rosie is intrigued as she replies that is all the more reason for her to take it as she rips off her mask and jumps out the window behind her. Yoshida's lust turns into fear as he realizes that the thief was Rosie and knew that her having it would spell disaster, so he ordered his guards to find her at once, but not to make a scene. Rosie made it safely to her home and was reading through the files and was shocked to find out everything. Rosie finds out where all the Yoshida and Ichika families' money come from, and how they maintain and grow it exponentially. She also finds out about the perfect replacement plan to replace Yoshifumi with a fraud and turn him into a puppet of Kira Yoshida that they can freely control for their greedy benefits. Through connecting the dots, she finds out that Lily, Yoshifumi's girlfriend, Daisy, is Lily and Ichika. Rosie knows that she needs information about this to spread, and especially to Yoshifumi. Rosie has the bright idea of starting a live stream and spreading awareness about the Yoshida and Ichika family's corruption. She thinks to herself that she personally needs to tell Yoshifumi about Lily. Rosie starts to broadcast and immediately exploits the Yoshida and Ichika family's secrets, quickly getting a bunch of views as she shows all the necessary proof to back up her claims. As she's nearing the end of her stream, however, she is interrupted by a banging at her door. She knows that it can only mean that beyond the door lies a furious Yoshida. She spills the rest of the secrets quickly, then ends the stream to make her escape. While running from her home, she figures that it's not safe anywhere anymore, and that instead of going to talk to Yoshifumi face to face, she intends to call him and tell him over the phone. Yoshifumi picks up the phone and Rosie summarizes her stream and quickly explains her current situation, and is about to tell him about Lily, but is cut short when the line breaks. Yoshifumi is unable to call her back and deduces that something may have happened to her, and that he will ask Lily if she knows something the next day when school starts. However, the entire day Yoshifumi could not find Lily because she was avoiding him. Lily blocked him, did not return his calls, and went on for a couple of days until Yoshifumi saw her waving goodbye to some of her friends. He makes his presence known to confront her, but she tries to leave, but Yoshifumi makes it hard for her to do so. Lily, feeling trapped, thinks that there is no other way and that she has to leave fast. She yells at Yoshifumi that she wants to be left alone. When Yoshifumi tries to ask why, she yells that she, Lily and Ichika, has never loved him and is breaking up with him. This stuns Yoshifumi, giving Lily a chance to get away. Snow begins to fall as the realization seeps in. Snow turns into hail with strong winds. All his happy memories with her begin to burn up, and the thought of never being able to see Rosie again eats him up inside and shakes him to his core, causing him to shiver. He begins to walk home in tears, which freezes while a teardrop is still falling to the ground. Rosie is said to have gone missing for a few days. Lily lonely walks through the school hallway thinking where it all went wrong before once again donning a fake smile when her friends arrive, stopping to take one last look outside before hurrying to catch up with them again. Yoshifumi is depressed and doesn't go to school for a couple of days. He feels as though his world is falling apart right in front of him, but he can do nothing about it. As he lays on his bed rewatching Rosie's final stream before her disappearance for the millionth time that day, when he is suddenly interrupted by a news broadcast saying of how bright Yagomi, Akira Yoshida impersonating a member of the Yoshida family, who was recently found out to be a crime family, was holding a girl named Rosalind Fujiro hostage, and would not release her until 1 million yen was given to him. Yoshifumi realizes that the fake Kira is holding Rosie for ransom, and finally regains his senses, and vows to save Rosie from the fake Yoshida. As he is about to embark on his journey, he first needs to find out where they are, as the police are still looking, and the background for the photo taken of Rosie was not good enough to expose their location. As soon as Yoshifumi opens the front door of his house, Lily stands there, hand raised and about to knock. Lily warms up by the fireplace wrapped in a blanket. Yoshifumi demands to know why she is there in the first place, while handing her a cup of hot cocoa, warning her of the warmth of the beverage. Lily clarifies that she is not seeking trouble, and that she only wants to apologize for hurting him, as well as be of some use for finding Rosie as a form of payment, even though she views it as not enough. Lily tells Yoshifumi where Rosie is being held captive. Yoshifumi was shocked that Lily came to apologize, but was even more deeply surprised to know that she knew the location of where Rosie is being held captive. He asks Lily how she knows, and she says that it's the only place she can think of in terms of what the fake Yoshida is doing now. Yoshifumi quickly gets up to leave and thanks Lily for her help, to which she replies by telling him, "Good luck," because they both know he needs it since he's going without a plan. As soon as Yoshifumi leaves, Lily calls the authorities to get herself arrested, and by turning herself in, it will serve as her punishment and strengthen her resolve as a member of the Ichika family.
Because of the perfect replacement plan, my name is Kira Yoshida. But, in actuality, my real name is Bright Yagomi. I was born into a poor family from the start, a family of which no one seemed to care about. One day, a rich woman saw potential in my father when he convinced her to buy a pen for a nickel and bargained to turn it into $1. She was willing to marry him and make him the rich heir for the head of her family, but only if he left his old poor life with his current family behind. He readily agreed, and just like that, vanished from my life at the age of 6. My mother was crying, but instead of feeling sad, I felt like it was the right choice to make from a business viewpoint, and then vowed to become someone worthy of investing in like my father before me. I still felt bad when I saw my mother crying, so I comforted her by telling her that I would make us rich. She then died of sickness, and a week later, the heavy rain did not help at all. Years later, after another failed attempt at getting a job, a woman stumbled upon me after I collapsed of hunger. She fed me and nurtured me back to health and introduced herself as Lily Ichika. She said that she had a proposition for me because she saw potential in me. I readily accepted, as she had given me my reason to live, and so I devoted myself to her, and in return she invested her time and money on me. My job was to fill the shoes of a person I had never met and to strive to be better than them in all aspects. They had high hopes and expectations of me, as I had the spitting image of him, and they remarked how he was easy to surpass. I then donned the new identity of this mysteriously useless person, Kira Yoshida.
Yagomi finishes reminiscing about how he ended up there in the first place, and so then turns his head towards a tied-up Rosie, and a twisted smile spreads across his face. He slowly approached her, asking, "Any last words? Actually, don't answer that, as no one will hear, let alone remember them anyways." And right as it seems he is about to make a move on Rosie, Yoshifumi barges in, with money in his hands, demanding that Yagomi stop his outrageous actions. Yagomi was impressed and asks where he got it from, to which Yoshifumi claims it to be money from his savings. He drops the money on the floor. The two guys circle around each other, and Yoshifumi gets Rosie, and Yagomi the money. Yoshifumi unties the cloth tied around her mouth, to which she screams to warn him of Yagomi behind him, as he confesses that it was never about the money and throws a punch at Yoshifumi, who pushes Rosie away, and does the blow himself at the same time. The two guys get into a heated battle while Yagomi confesses his pent-up feelings of sadness and sorrow, and how he felt that he was never meant to belong anywhere, to Yoshifumi during the ordeal. Rosie manages to untie herself and call the police. Yagomi confesses that if he beats Yoshifumi right there and then, it would prove that he is the better one, and that he is still worth investing. At that moment, Yoshifumi knew that Yagomi just wanted someone to acknowledge him, look at him, be with him, and most of all, love him. With this, Yoshifumi knew he had to go all out, even if he didn't like hurting people. They went at each other, and the fight had become a battle of endurance, one that Yoshifumi won as Yagomi fell on his knees and dropped to the ground. Why only me? Yagomi thought to himself. No, it's not over. This can't be it. Yagomi convinced himself. Yoshifumi was helping Rosie stand when he suddenly felt a stab to his back. Yagomi had used his remaining strength to stab Yoshifumi, and both fell and lost consciousness. Luckily, police and an ambulance came in time, to which the police arrested Yagomi and paramedics took Yoshifumi away to the hospital. Yoshifumi slightly regained consciousness when he saw Yagomi being taken away, and wished he had met him sooner to grant him his wish. He also thought he could fully forgive Lily, as he was able to save Rosie in time. Speaking of which, he slightly turned his head to see her crying for my safety, and thought to himself how lucky he was to have a friend like her. Before he slept, however, he finally realized that Rosie and his childhood friend were the same, and then finally he slept with a smile on his face. A week after the incident, Rosie came to visit Yoshifumi in the hospital, bringing an apple along with her. As she peeled and sliced it into pieces, she fed one into his mouth. When he finished swallowing, he relayed the news that he was to get discharged early, and that he would be able to attend school again the following Monday. They were both very excited, and Rosie jokingly assured Yoshifumi that she will help him catch up so they can finish the year together. Yoshifumi agreed, and he flustered and said that Rosie did not need to feed him anymore, and that insisted that he could feed himself. Rosie teased him by asking if he was feeling embarrassed, to which Yoshifumi pouted and looked away, blushing, denying it. Rosie laughed and said that he was acting cute, to which Yoshifumi told her to cut it out. Meanwhile, elsewhere, Yoshifumi's younger twin siblings hide in Shibuya. They are both frustrated at Rosie for exposing them, and even more frustrated with the fact that Yoshifumi might still be alive. They both agreed that once they come out of hiding, they'd take revenge before then becoming rich again, and to never let the same mistakes happen again. They heard police shouting, telling another to follow him, and pointing in their direction, exclaiming that the twins were over there. The twins then run off into the sunset. The perfect replacement plan is now over, and Yoshifumi can finally get to live the quiet life he always wanted, but this time with Rosie? Or will he